Hey everyone, welcome to the Get Your Life Together Girl Mini Mindset Reset. I'm your host, Danielle. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, a life coach to women, and author, one thing has become abundantly clear. So much of what gets in our way in our daily lives is not only how we think, but what we think, our mindset. Because of that, every other week, I'm taking your requests and questions and handing over quick, easy to use, practical strategies and life tools to help you shift your thinking, create calm, help you understand and express your emotions, harness your inner power, and learn how to navigate your personal story in 15 minutes or less. After all, how else can you get your life together? So let's shift your perspective with the tools and conversations that help you in the throes of change. The Get Your Life Together Girl podcast mini mindset reset starts right now. We all have habits. They're important as they really do serve us in the long run. A thought is a habit or an action that we've practiced into a routine, and it's important to know that your mind works in patterns, in habits. And when we practice something enough times, our mind locks it into place. Your thoughts become beliefs, your beliefs become actions, your actions become habits. And that's all well and good until it doesn't work for you. Meagan from Arizona wrote in and said, Danielle, I have been trying to change my habits for quite some time, but I really think that I am struggling with understanding what a habit actually is. And I'm wondering if you can give us a few steps that would help us change the connection to our pattern instead of just the habit itself. What a great question. Actually, it sounds like you understand habits and patterns quite well. But what can be so life-changing to understand about habits is it isn't until you actually understand what is behind the why of your behaviors do you have the power to make an impact on them, to make a big shift or change. The first step into changing any mental pattern is getting down to the impact, the why. And how do we do that, right? Because that's what's so necessary to understand. And the first way we do that is to focus on one habit at a time. When we are changing our habits, when we're focusing on breaking a habit, especially when we're in this space of life overhaul, we get frustrated. We try to change everything at one time, and guess what? That doesn't work. When we want to release a habit, it takes a ton of effort. Think about that one thing that you've been working to let go of. How much mental energy did it take for you to break the habit? Unwanted habits are difficult because they take us breaking the thought pattern itself. It takes a disruption. So I want you to focus on just one thing at a time. This is essential. One thing, one step, one thing, whether it's big or small, doesn't really matter, but don't lump everything together. Then let's go a step further and talk about how a habit actually impacts us. So we have a thought. Right? We have this thing that actually comes into our awareness. We connect our emotional body to it, and from there we take action. Action, once it's repeated, becomes routine. It is marked in our brain pattern, and routines actually become a thing in our mind because there's been some kind of reward or there's been some kind of attachment to it. To make a habit stick, there has to be something that our mind latches onto, whether that is enjoyment or something that makes us feel safe, or there's been a release of something. This is part of uncovering the why, right? If you know what actually is happening, what kind of reward, what kind of action is being taken in the mind and the emotional body, it gives you a sense of being able to change it. Take somebody who overeats, for example. If they're eating a ton of food, is it because of enjoyment or is it because it is releasing the stress factor in their body? Is this coping mechanism really working to bring down the anxiety or whatever the nervous system is feeling? If you know the why, we can change the habit. Now, before you start the change, I have to prepare you for something. It is the slip ups. I say this so often in private session. You're going to screw this up, and that's okay. You must prepare yourself. Your brain is always going to lead you back to what is familiar and what is comfortable. You have to really prepare yourself to not allow yourself to go back. So you put stop gaps in place so that you don't feel like you're going backwards. It's this witnessing of your thought patterns. I know that I'm about to go binge eat because I don't feel good. Instead of going to the kitchen, I'm going for a walk. That's a stopgap, right? So prepare for the slip up. The next thing is to refuse, and I mean refuse, the all or nothing mindset. So many times when we're changing a habit, it is, well, I messed up today, so I have to start over, or I'm just going to quit. All or nothing will always take you back to the sense of failure. It also reinforces a reward into the mind that the habit that you're trying to break, it has more power over you than you trying to do the work to change it. So let go of that all or nothing mindset. And when you're doing this, you have to really learn to watch for the signals that you are overstimulated. Very important, right? Because habits are about routine, and routine leads us into what? Doing the same thing over and over again. That would also mean that we're doing a lot of things on autopilot. And if we're not mindful, if we're not aware, we can slip up and not actually be even conscious about what we're doing. So we have to change the environment. We have to change the routine. We have to take different actions in order for a new habit to be formed or an old habit to be broken. So I said we have to take one step at a time if we're going to change a habit or create a new one. And that means that we have to start so small, one small step at a time. If it's a massive habit, something you've been doing for a very long time, guess what? It's going to take longer to break. So you have to get very, very small. What's the first step? Step one in creating the habit, in the break or the change or creating a new one. And I want you to focus on that, right? So this is step two, really. Focus on a different habit or the habit extraction, taking it away every single day. What is this one thing that you're going to put in place so that you can be consistent? Whether that's a buddy or a checklist, an alarm, something that holds you to the daily habit pattern. The next piece of this is to get down to a new why. So we know why we're breaking the habit. We know why we need to make a change or why we're creating something else. But what is the new why? What's the intentionality? It's so important to know this because if we have an understanding of the new why, we also have an understanding of the benefit. Think about what I said before. A habit is formed when there is some kind of reward. If we know there's a benefit, what is that? It's a reward, right? And then I want you to get into a place where you are forming a new trigger. What is a trigger? A trigger is a moment that is connected to an emotion that's been locked into our brain, okay? Moment being a word pattern, an experience, a feeling, a sight, a smell, anything that can actually bring forth what we're trying to work on, okay? Or something that's in the past, that's a whole other situation. That's for another day. But let's talk about how you can form a trigger purposefully. Say you want to change your weight and you have now started a new habit of working out. If you wanted to create a new trigger for that feeling, that reward of working out, you could perhaps stand in front of a mirror and give yourself a long list of affirmations and positive feedback that's connected to the workout. So once you got into a space where this was a consistent daily behavior, or even a consistent, say, 4 times a week behavior, your mind is going to be triggered when you stand in front of that mirror at the gym, right? So you're creating that habit. It's so important. And if you create the positive trigger, your mind is going to be much more likely to take you into that experience in a healthier and happier way. The next thing that you can do is use the word yet instead of but. I love this because a lot of times when we are trying to change our habits, change a pattern, we will often say, I'm not there, but I want to be. But that but is still kind of negative, right? And so we want to go to a place of yet. I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. I'm not quite where I want to be yet, but I know I will get there. This is a great way to train the brain into a new thought pattern because you're connecting to the openness of the moment. It is a very simple word exchange, but it has massive change within the thoughts and in the mind, in the emotions. It's so easy to do too. I'm not there yet. I'm working towards this. It's going to take me a moment. I'm not there yet. Yet is so powerful. Open to everything, closed to nothing. That's where I want you to be. It's very difficult to have new habits if there is no accountability. So keep a log, right? Write out what you need to see, what you want to do, your why, right? Writing creates triggers in the brain too. So keep a log because that helps you stay accountable. Reach out to other people. Make sure that you're giving yourself consistent rewards and awards for the behavior that you're trying to change. Remember in the very beginning, I said your thoughts become your beliefs when they're practiced. Your beliefs become your actions. Your actions become your habits. So important. It happens so quickly. Really, what I'm saying to you is be mindful, stay focused, do what works for you, create a positive reward around it, and allow yourself to hold yourself accountable and be vulnerable with yourself. Am I going to mess up? Yep, I am, 100%. Is it going to be something that works in my favor if I chastise myself, if I say that I'm never good enough or that I'm never going to succeed? No, of course not. We have to speak to ourselves in a positive way anytime we make any kind of change. So think about it. A habit is a thought or an action that's been practiced into a routine. What are you practicing? What do you need to change? What do you need to get down to the why of? This is such a great question. Just remember that any of us have the power to change anything that is in our current awareness and our current actions. All we have to do is be mindful in doing it and get down to changing the behavior and making a new pattern. Seems very simple, does take a lot of work, but all of us can do it. Thank you so much for listening to the Get Your Life Together Girl mini mindset reset. If you have a subject or strategy request, email us at getyourlifetogethergirlnow@gmail.com. Or you can visit our website at getyourlifetogethergirl.com. If you're looking for daily inspiration or tips and tools, join the growing community at Get Your Life Together Girl on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Thank you for being a valuable member of this community. Until next time, be kind to yourself and others.